Hello there, everybody. Welcome on into today's video. Greatly appreciate taking time on your day, swing on over and checking it on out. We have the last theory video part. Okay, part 4. We're going to be doing Mongo. We're also going to be doing Season of Memories. Now, they're not super long videos, but at the end, we're going to talk about it. We're going to go through a bunch of little things. So this video probably will be, I'm not super long, but and not as long as the other videos, but we will be kind of breaking more things down now that we'll have pretty much a lot of the pieces now. Between me recording yesterday's video and now, because I got up, had a little break, had a little snack, refilled my drink. I have a couple little theories. I know I said at the end of yesterday's video that I thought Yuju and so on were teaming up again with each other. I'm not 100% sure on that fact. I am pretty sure. I like that theory, and the more I think about it, the more it makes sense of good Yuju being trapped in the mirror, and then the witch or the siren Yuju has been released type situation. And I think she's actually trying to tempt the others in a weird sense. You see it with Umji a little bit in Crossroads. You see it here and there in like some other little videos, like other things. There's that scene where she's just running through this, just running everywhere. She just keeps on running. I think it's Crossroads, actually. Is it Crossroads or is it Sunrise? No, I think it's Crossroads, where she's like running the schoolyard, almost like that is her good self trying to escape, like, but she's on an endless loop and she can't. Another weird theory I have. But I had mentioned I thought Yuju was trying to get So-on and like teaming up, and I'm not quite sure. I actually think So-on is the one trying to get them back together. Okay, I really do. We see a lot of like little bits and pieces here and there throughout the MVs. I actually think that Shadow or the witch per se in like the storybook that everybody keeps referencing, which is so cool. That's a brilliant idea. I think it's almost the siren side trying to lure members as we go through. It's not a specific member per se, but I really think it's like that other side, like you have the good and evil, and the siren side is that dark shadow or like the dark witch trying to overcome and take over. I think that's what that's trying to portray. I don't think it's like So-on. I think So-on out of all of them is the one that's trying to resist the most from that. And you see there's a lot of pieces within the MVs of her consoling a lot of the members. And I think that's one little bit. She did it with Yeren, with Shinbi, especially those two. I think there was one part with Yeren as well. So you have a little bits and pieces here that correlate with that theory. I think she's the one trying to put them all back together. Now that I'm thinking about it more holistically as like MV wise, and also would make sense of her, her leadership qualities and her being the leader of the group, her trying to piece everybody back together. And then you of course have everybody else trying not to fall or are starting to fall towards that Emmy side. And there is that one, of course, end in Apple where So-on also falls to that, but I think she pulls herself out, and we might see that kind of in the theory of Mago here. Who knows? I really do think actually So-on is the one trying to, not Unha. I think it's actually So-on. But once we watch both of these theory videos, we'll see if this tracks where I'm thinking. So grab your drink, grab your snack, maybe a pencil and paper, because we're gonna go through this. All right. And we're gonna go. Let's do it. All right, both videos are by Bookish Theories. We'll see what they cook up here. I love Mago. Mago's so good.
Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about GFRIEND's Mago, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the concept, the lyrics, and the music video. Mago is a song co-written by Una, Yuju, and Umji that deals with the themes of celebration, confidence, and maturity. Now, as we'll see in a second, the video shows us the girls embracing their new self, vibing to disco music in a women-only nightclub. But since it's the big hit labels we're talking about, this fresh and colorful concept is also meant to explore the girls' personal growth, as well as the final chapter of the trilogy that first began back in Crossroads. You see, even if at first glance Mago may seem like a love song, in reality this is a song that celebrates self-love and the latest stage of the girl's journey towards maturity. And this idea was also confirmed by the girls themselves, because in the press conference, GFRIEND have pointed out that the song is essentially about a girl that after many temptations is finally able to look at herself through her own perspective without caring about the opinion of others.
A young girl who becomes a witch. We had that switch into the witch.
The perfect conclusion to the Wheat trilogy, because after the girls discovered their magical abilities and underwent a dark transformation after being tempted by their dark side, Mago shows us that all the doubts, the changes, and the tribulations that they went through were actually a necessary step in the process of accepting themselves. Much like other stories belonging to the big hit multiverse, the journey portrayed in the trilogy explores the theme of growth as a transformation that is triggered by the girls facing their dark side and accepting it as part of themselves. And this idea was also conveyed in the I-DLE comeback VCR, where Una actually tells us that even if the right choice came at a great cost, but in the I-DLE also allowed them to follow their path with honesty and confidence. Even if this change came with a loss of innocence and a dive into the unknown, the transformation triggered by the I-DLE also came with a new understanding of themselves. So if in Crossroads we saw GFRIEND experiencing a moment of hesitation in relation to their new powers, and in I-DLE we saw them getting lost in temptation, Mago explores the climax of this journey by showing the girls celebrating their entrance into adulthood and their transformation into modern witches, which is a term that GFRIEND used to describe a woman that is confident in her own abilities and that is not worried about the opinion of others. Now, right off the bat, this idea is very interesting, because by using the witch archetype as a positive figure that embodies the strength and the skills of modern women, GFRIEND actually subverted an archetype that throughout history has been consistently used as a symbol of negative femininity. Back in the Middle Ages,
if you think about it, that's kind of what Apple did. It was like all negative.
Was defined
so
by
if this
purity,
is like them embracing it and accepting it,
the witch was a figure that was used to demonize and alienate women that didn't fit the standards of society. But nowadays, things are starting to change, and GFRIEND's concept reflects this change by showing us the witch celebrating
I love that photo, though. If you really think about it, that like
same struggles
that
and
weird like mirror
the
image
transformation. You see, this time around, the album is actually called Walpurgis Night, which is a reference to a bonfire celebration that is actually meant to keep the witches away in a night where witches were thought to ride freely through the land. But what GFRIEND did with Mago was to subvert this concept and transform a night where witches were hunted down into a night where modern witches can actually celebrate themselves. As the lyrics tell us, when the blossoming night begins, they write the first page of their new story and fly away on a broom to escape all the do's and don'ts that bore them. So just by these lines alone, we get the sense that Mago not only marks a moment of liberation that frees them from the hesitation of the past, but also a moment of rebirth that introduces us to the girl's new confident self. Much like I-DLE foreshadowed, Mago tells us that in this specific midnight, the girls are blessed by the flame and fly reborn. And this rebirth is ultimately defined by a sense
burning
of
down
unity,
maybe the tree,
because what the girls have been waiting for all their life was none other than the woman that they now see in the mirror. This means that accepting
Smiling
their
yourself in
witchy
the
side
mirror,
as a part
it's
of
just
themselves
like,
not
YouTube
only freed them from
with
the
a mirror.
judgment of others, but
Is that
also allowed them
her-
to
her
fully
good
become the
self?
person that they were always meant to be. Now they're both light and darkness, both lie and truth, both joy and sorrow, and their heart is beating for this woman because now they finally learn to love every side of themselves, embrace who they are, and gain full control of their powers. You see, if back in Crossroads their fear and hesitation was portrayed by showing the girls separated and in conflict with each other, Mago shows us that now this conflict is resolved and they are united again. And this is because the song represents the peak of their transformation both as girls and as friends. Even if they were always magical, now they have become the G-friend that they were always meant to be. They are girls who are confident in their own skin, and they are friends who support each other and stay united against the odds. So the envy that caused them to fight in the story is no longer there, because now they are confident women who know their worth and don't bring other women down. Now, this sense of sisterhood and inner unity is also conveyed in the music video as well, because if at the beginning we see Sewon entering the tunnel by herself, after the festival is over, the girls come back together and walk away happily. These visuals here imply that even if their transformation took place inside of them, the result of this change also affects their perspective of the outside world. So as they achieve unity within themselves, G-friend also achieve unity as friends. And this is because self-acceptance and self-love also come with acceptance and love for others as well. What happens on the inside is always reflected on the outside. So their love for the woman in the mirror also reflects their love for one another, because in a way, the girls are one the reflection of the other. If you look closely, both the choreography and the video play a lot with the idea of symmetry here. We get lots of scenes in front of the mirror, inside of the mirror, and with the girls mirroring each other's movements. So the way this transformation is portrayed in the story is definitely connected with the idea of two halves finally coming together. As the song told us, now they're both light and darkness, truth and lie, and joy and sorrow. But the video also draws a lot of attention on the connection between the individual and the group, as well as on the members and their reflection. Now, this focus on opposites coming together here heavily reinforces the idea that in order to achieve their transformation, the girls had to find a balance between different sides of themselves. But since the song also talks about them overcoming the judgment of others, another aspect to consider is the contrast between the outer world and the inner world of their unconscious. And as it turns out, these two sides are connected through Mago as well. You see, in Asian mythology, a Mago is a Greek goddess that is often associated to immortality and creation. So if we consider that the song is meant to show us the final outcome of their transformation, we can say that by coming to terms with all sides of themselves, the girls were able to unleash their inner Mago, that is, a Greek goddess that symbolically represents their complete self. Since G-friend's storyline has been heavily influenced by European folklore, however, it's also important to point out that Mago is also a male noun that in Italian means wizard or sorcerer. And this is important because, as it turns out, the sorcerer is an archetype that can be found in Carl Jung's theories as well. Now, if you know a thing or two about the Beckett storylines, then you know that Carl Jung plays a huge role in understanding the symbolism behind these plots. And in this case, it's no different, because the Mago is also one of the manifestations of the animus, which, according to Jung, is the male side of a woman that acts as a mediator between the conscious and the unconscious. This means that in order for G-friend to transform into modern witches, the girls first have to interact with their animus. And according to Jung, this animus is often associated to a veil of illusions that covers the deepest parts of our unconscious. Now, I'm mentioning the veil of illusions here because in the lyrics, the girls tell us that the first page of their transformation actually begins with 6960 magic. And this is important because, as Umji told us on Weavers, this number is a reference to a part of the Cygnus constellation that is called none other than the Veil Nebula. This implies that GFRIEND here
Makes
are
a lot
able
of
to
sense right
transform
there.
into a mago that is a great
Always wondered
goddess
about that
by
line.
actually going beyond the veil of the mago, which is the animus that connects the two worlds together.
We did add
As
a
the
lot of
final
space
shot of the
themes
video
as well,
foreshadows,
especially
this
in
process
Fingertip.
puts them on top of the world. So even if GFRIEND were always magical, now they're magos because them understanding their value has finally unlocked their full potential. So that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
All right.
Hello and welcome.
Okay, before we get into this next little video, we are going to ponder for a second. Okay, you know what? My So-On theory is not super far out of left field here. So, especially with her entering by herself and then coming back out with everybody. I could stand a case here with So-On maybe being one of the ones that kind of helps them embrace both sides of themselves. Now kind of more understanding a little bit more of the bits and pieces of Mago, especially lore-wise. Like, I didn't know Mago was, like, a representation of a great goddess. That plays up a huge. The whole veil piece, that's very interesting. Especially the 6960 magic like, that line has always been wild to me, and I was like, this is so random. Like, why is it like what's going on with this line? But if it's pinpointing the Veil Nebula wise, that could play up a lot there. Especially with Fingertip being a lot in space. We saw a lot of the dream worlds, right? There's Shimmy just running on a planet, like a moon. And them kind of being on little different, like, planets throughout, like, the constellation or solar system, however which way, you wanna put it. But I still believe in the whole, like, we got to this point, but there was a lot of stuff before here that got us to this point, and once we watch, Season of Memories, then we'll discuss, okay? Because I wanna see if this pops into
Hello
anything.
and welcome back to Bookish Theories. Today
Oh,
we
gotta
kick
turn it
off
up.
2025 going down memory lane with GFRIEND Season of Memories.
Yeah.
This is the title track of their 10th anniversary special album with the same name, and like the title foreshadows, the comeback is full of touching references to their previous eras and storylines.
Yes.
Title-wise, the Season of Memories is a reference to Season of
The
Glass,
Glass Bead
which
kind of
was
world.
GFRIEND's debut album.
Dream world.
The cover also features a glass bead, which is one of the main symbols of their discography, not only representing their debut title track, but also their storyline Tale of the Glass Bead. Right off the bat, we get the sense that this is a journey that will make us relive
See, you have the
story,
Shimby,
and this is true for both the song and the video. For one,
twinning.
the lyrics look back at the years spent together with a lot of love and nostalgia, with the members reflecting on the path that brought them together and reuniting once again in the memory of a past that will last forever. Even if at first they're still separated when they embark on this journey, it's through this experience that they eventually manage to reunite for real. Despite the twists and turns of time, the girls met again like a miracle, and empowered by the happy memories of the past, they choose each other forever as they understand that their story has just begun. Now, if we consider the lyrics in the light of GFRIEND's 10 years together, this is a beautiful homage to their story that also honors their lasting connection with their fans. This is first and foremost a love letter to all those people that support them and have done so for so long. They sing this song so the heart can reach you, and the main message of the track is that in memory the time that you spend together will never disappear. The Season of Memories is a season that will never end, because in your memory time doesn't work in a linear way. You can go back anytime you want and relive the same moments
we have
as
you
many
do
times
running
as you want.
once
so
again.
There's comfort in knowing that the paths that crossed once will forever be connected in your heart. Because of that, their journey is not only still ongoing, it's infinite. After missing each other for so long, GFRIEND and bodies will never grow apart in this beautiful season, so no matter what happens, you will stay together forever. Now, since we are in the Season of Memories though, it's also worth pointing out that the lyrics of the song also fit very well with their lore, to the point that the song also gives us some kind of closure only hinted at back in Mago. Tale of the Glass Bead was a fairy tale about 6 friends living in a village where every girl is born with a glass bead. As an enchanted lake gives each girl a small magical power, their friendship takes a toll when the 6 friends start to become jealous of each other's gifts.
Yes.
The seed of envy makes them fight, and the girls end up going separate ways, leading to a lot of misery. Una's character, however, is not ready to give up just yet, so she goes on a quest to find the blue butterflies, which are mystical creatures able to enhance people's magic and erase people's misfortune. Una finds them in a bookshop in the middle of the woods, whose owner gives her a set of butterflies that will aid her in her quest. She uses them to go back in time so that she can fix the past and reunite with her friends, but she fails, and after using all of her butterflies, her glass bead eventually turns black. In I-DLE, the girls become witches as a result of this event, and according to the fairy tale, they forget their precious memories. In Mago, they embrace their witchiness, and the ending hints at them finding a way to reunite as they enjoy their new power. This, however, is just speculation, because up until now that was it. We didn't know how the story was supposed to end, but now we finally get some closure with a song that shows them remembering the past and getting reunited through the very memories they forgot. As I said before, the concept works both as an homage to their career and as a point of resolution to their fictional curse, so now let's take a closer look to see what these memories are all about. At the beginning, the video opens with Una sitting on a train traveling through the cosmos. The pocket watch is a callback to the one that we saw in Crossroads, while the setting recalls the dream landscape that we saw back in Fingertip, which already gives a dream quality to the journey we're about to take. In both videos, Una uses the blue butterflies to travel back in time through dreams, so the video opening with this scene tells us that once again Una is using the butterfly to take us on a journey in the past.
It's like the last butterfly,
the train setting
I feel.
Is also very
feel like this is the last
not only
butterfly
because we are traveling through memories,
right?
but also to represent the passage of time and the seasons of life. In the past, trains were a common symbol in GFRIEND's videos because they were navigating life. They were on a journey of youth, if you will. Stations and trains appeared in Rough, Love Whisper, Crossroads, so it makes sense that this is their chosen mode of transportation. As this journey begins, we cross the season of winter with Shinbi. The first car is filled with clocks each telling a different time, which recalls the time travel concept of the story, as well as the endless number of clocks that appear throughout their videos. Time is a constant element in GFRIEND's storyline, so it makes sense that the first car pays homage to it. From winter with Shinbi, we then move to summer with Yerin, and in this car we get references to different videos kinda representing the summer of their life.
Her little power there, right?
The uniform and the teddy bear both belong to Raph, for instance, but the audio recorder in the back is a callback to Love Whisper. The glass bead and the Walkman are both a reference to Time for the Moonlight, while the skits and the mascots are from Navillera. The flowers and the point shoes are once again a nod to Raph, but both the tape recorder and the radio are from Love Whisper. In the next car, we then switch from day to night with Umji. This car is full of lamps, which recalls falling light, but this is mostly a nod to Time for the Moonlight. The same video is also referenced with the paper plane that distracts Umji, which makes sense considering her scenes in that video. When we get to Sowan, however, she opens up the rest of the train, and here each car refers to a different era. As I said, the paper planes were Time for the Moonlight, but the piano is likely a callback to Sunrise. The sunflowers, the greenery, and the water instead are definitely Love Whisper, with the sunflowers also hinting at summer rain. The aquarium could be a callback to Sunny Summer, but I actually think that the bigger reference is to Crossroads, because in both cases we see the sharks. Then the disco balls are obviously Mago, and then we finally get to present day with the rain of flowers. The reappearance of the butterfly, however, tells us that our journey through memories is not over just yet. In fact, we end up in another car, possibly referencing both Fever and Apple. At the end of the train, we clearly see that this is a journey through time, and as Yuju runs back, it's now time to finally remember the most precious memory of all. These memories of the concerts where the 6 members were on stage together performing for a beautiful ocean of bodies. Not only this is their most precious memory to never forget, but also the reason why they had to use the butterfly to come back to that moment. It's not just to reunite as GFRIEND, it's for GFRIEND to reunite with you, which is a dream that will always be real as long as you remember it. By the end, Una's mission has been accomplished. She's no longer alone on the train, she succeeded in reuniting with her friends and fixing the past, and now they can safely move on together towards a future full of possibilities. Like in the song, the video doesn't end with them finishing the journey. The train continues to travel, and GFRIEND have no intention of getting down anytime soon. At least for now, GFRIEND are together and will continue their journey together to spend their anniversary with buddies. To know what the future will bring, for now we'll have to wait and see, but in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you want to support me, I have much linked in the description down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Okay, here we are. This is it. This is it. Okay. So there's so much lore. There really is so much lore. There's so much to process. Because really, if you think about it, right? I get like the whole beginning storyline. Group of friends, some village on maybe an island. We don't know. Just like random village. They grow up together. We go through their little high school years. Then they gain powers. Though the way that everything, because Love Whisper is, I would say, kind of out of order if you're thinking of it in lore wise, because we have Fingertip before. So it's kind of like, well, what happens? And then you get that, and potentially. So if you're thinking of it lore wise, MV. Okay, we got the beginning, MV, like MVs. And then going through them being friends, developing their friendship. We also have them, you know, then developing like their powers, which it seems as though someone does first would make sense. She is kind of like the leader, the oldest. She developed it first, and then everybody else starts to. Then we have that little kind of like seed, or like a little bead, a glass bead, if you will, of doubt, or maybe envy, jealousy, that little bit that starts to grow within several of them, especially potentially Unha in a way. Yuju as well, Shinbi, I would say. And then we get to Fingertip, which is like really kind of like that turning point, because you have members against members where you have the three, like you have Sowon, Yuju, and Umji as like one little team, and then it looks like Yeren and Shinbi another team. Anha's kind of by herself if you think about it, unless you do the grand scheme of when we watched the first video where Anha and Shinbi were kind of on the same team but with two different goals. Shinbi wanted to move forward in time. Unha wants to move back in time, or at least remember those memories of childhood, of like youth, that kind of stuff, right? Dreams, being innocent, that. So you could say that the three of them are actually together, so it'll be like a 3 against 3. Yeren, wild card, because she kind of goes back and forth between the two. She sticks with Shinbi, then she tries to go with Unha. And she's kind of like that. Her and Umji are both of those like weird kind of wild cards here. That's also the video where Yuju, potentially, it does make sense that her true self, her good side, does get trapped in the mirror. You could see it in the MV with one knocking on the mirror underneath, and then when she walks off. So there's that. Which could be potentially she was the first one, because if they were the hunters, could let the envy or the bad witch side take over. So the witch side take over. And then she's just kind of like through the videos, might be stirring the pot a little bit. She fights with Umji, especially in Crossroads. Umji tries to be like, hey, I'm so sorry, and she's like, nah. Kind of keeps that anger dynamic, kind of like fuels that little fire there. You have Unha and Shinbi fighting. I still like that little theory of them kind of being twins in a way. That kind of does make sense if you're looking at it in this whole scheme of everything, with them going for the same butterfly but wanting different things. And then, of course, the end scene in Season of Memories, where they're both sitting in the same seat, and then Shinbi puts her head on Unha, versus them all being separate. that's always been an interesting shot for me, with the two of them together and then everybody else in a separate seat. Why not have them all on a separate seat? So that does make sense that the two of them are like strongly connected in that point, and having them as like twins in a way would kind of make sense. And it would also draw in that piece where a lot of people think that Shinbi is trying to maybe save Unha, where Yuju might actually be the bad guy. I still think Yuju might tempt So-on to an extent. And then the overall shadow, because we don't know if So-on's powers actually are shadows. The two theories are the shadow is So-on, potentially, with a siren song, or is there a representation of their siren behind Unha as she's walking through the woods? You know, it's that temptation side following, calling out with the apple, like, here you go, taste a little bite type situation. In Apple, you have that one scene with Unha and Shinbi like kissing the apple. It's almost like they're accepting like that side of themselves. You have Unha biting into the apple. There's the whole dance, the fire dance with Shinbi, then switches to So-on. I like that idea of So-on being like the ice and fire. You have two different sides, because there was a lot of like blue representation with So-on and a lot of red and fire, of course, with Shinbi. That kind of makes sense. Does seem like as some point Yeren gets trapped in the labyrinth, and maybe to be able to get out of the labyrinth, she has to accept that temptation, because you see the door close on her, but it doesn't seem like she's been playing with the apple a whole lot, like the temptation, but she does follow the blue butterfly through the maze, or at least that butterfly like leads her into the maze. Odd. So there's that. Got a lot cooking here. All right. So with them all at the end of Apple, their whole past of them kind of maybe having some jealousy towards each other, then finding the temptation of that side, they all kind of accept that. And then you see them as the sirens or the dark witches up on their thrones. Great imagery there. They look gorgeous. Then you have Mago. All right. I always said that I thought that So-on, or at least like at the beginning of this video, after thinking about it, I thought So-on could be that one that tries to tie them or get them kind of back together in a way, or at least help Unha. And it does make sense, even if Yuju is kind of manipulating or influencing So-on in a way, in the like, especially like Apple, or in their little book, their storybook, because with her in the different MVs, she's always, there's bits and pieces where she's consoling members throughout the MV. Not much of a jealousy type, but as a like consoling type. She does it with Shinbi, and she does it with Umji, especially those two. And I'm pretty sure there was Yeren in there at some point in one of the MVs. It could have been Sunrise, I think. There was one bit. I'm not 100%. I would have to like rewatch it. But when you start Mago and she's the one walking through the tunnel by herself, going into this, could be like a world or a dream world, because there's still that whole theory of it, especially Unha traveling through time to different maybe dream spots where they're all together, reminiscing about them being younger and happy and together, and that bond and friendship. So she could be moving into this space where there's just all of them. It's just like a women's nightclub. Just they're having a grand time. I love it. There's a lot of the mirror play, there's that one line. There's the one line with the mirror. And immediately when it popped up on the theory video, all I can think of is Yuju, right? Because Yuju with the mirror, especially with the one where she's like in Fingertip when she gets trapped in the mirror and smiling at herself. So I'm wondering if that's the turning point, especially lyric-wise, where she's accepting both of herselves in that point in time, where she's accepting the good and the evil almost, or the siren and the OG Yuju into one person, you know, and that self-acceptance. And now knowing a little bit more of the history of like Mago, of the Veil Nebula type, some of the lyrics, that actually that acceptance really kind of plays up into them not accepting that side of themselves at the beginning of this journey through the MVs, and then Mago being that one that does. And then you have the Unha there. She is, you know, the three, it's like the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other, you know, that's what it felt like, you know, all different sides of Unha just in one space. You have the mirror with So-On where she's standing there and there's just all of these So-Ons just hanging out. That's kind of the acceptance of themselves, whether it's good, whether it's evil, light or dark. They are them and they're embracing that fact. So in just the journey from going from schoolgirls to adulthood really kind of plays out throughout these MVs. And then of course you have the Season of Memories. Great explanation. There was bits and pieces in there. Now watching the theory videos really makes sense in this. You have all of those former throwbacks to different props or different themes of MVs. You have So-On once again. She stops like the paper airplane. We've seen the paper airplane. She turns around and So-On is standing there, and then she opens up the door and it kind of like shows the rest. It's almost like she's leading her into like those memories. Yuju running like back in time almost, not towards the front of the train, but the back of the train, kind of like trying to reverse time. I don't know if that's a theory. The butterfly was the last butterfly. I really think that all of those butterflies, like the 5 that we had in the box on the storybook, we're down to 3 in Crossroads. Then we used a couple more, like 2 more throughout. There was the one in, is it Sunrise? No. Might have been, no. Sunrise, I think. And then Apple. Those were the 2. And then we had 1 left. And then the 1 left is the one that actually works for Unha. And what she's trying to do is that first fingertip explanation, I'm liking that. That's good. Because I think that works for this storyline. Feel free, if you have other theories, let me know. But her trying to have them remember the past and like past memories and past feelings of them being like together, as well as having the joy and happiness, if that's what her one goal was. But in a sense, going through and using those butterflies ended up having the bad turn where they all kind of accepted that jealousy. But then you have this one final bit, because it works, because they've accepted themselves as individuals, whether it's good, like the both sides, good and siren, good, like almost good and evil, and then it works, right? And we go through all the like the different little train stuff, and we watch the all memories, and then they land on the like that final memory, which is them singing in front of buddies, and then you see them on the train all together, and then you have So-On and Shimbi together, sitting down, which kind of plays on the twin concept, and as well as everybody else around them. And then you see the butterfly like flying away. Like, it did work. It brought them all together once again. And she's no longer, Anha's no longer on the train by herself. And then you see the train continue on, as in they're now together in a happy spot, happy place. And now we're traveling into maybe new experiences, new memories, moving forth, but they will always be together as like one and as GFriend, but we're moving on into this new story, which is unfortunately them not in the like GFriend group actively. But we also, of course, have like BBZ for a time, and now we'll see. Hopefully they find a spot. I would love them to find a new company and continue on as a trio. But that kind of wraps up the theory, right? Wow. I don't know if that all made sense. That might not have made sense at all. But I really do like the whole glass bead portion. I like the Unha theory there. The Yuju theory, I actually think that does work. She's the first to kind of switch into the siren side. Her siren side takes over. Shinbi is trying to help Anha, potentially by burning down the tree that has the apple of temptation on it. You know? Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. All right. I think I just talked for like 15-20 minutes about this. Just the theory itself. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know if it made any sense walking through that journey of theories in my brain. I strongly do believe, strongly do believe that Unha is not dead. Okay, that is the one theory right now. I'm for me personally, not jumping on board. So I don't think so. I think she's just moving through time, and that's why she keeps disappearing from different like timelines, is because she's moving around, trying to repair their friendship. And she kind of gets confused, and it seems as though she's like disassociating, and then everybody's like, okay, well, they get all sad. And it's actually working against her versus actually helping. And that's why we get to the end towards Apple, where they all kind of accept that temptation or embrace that temptation and go into the siren witches, like the dark witches, versus the light witches. Just saying. I'm sticking with that. Sticking with that theory. But let me know. Let me know if you have any other thoughts or theories. I would love to read them. I'd love to hear about them. Please, in a comment, if you have different little thoughts, things that I might have missed that could have pertained to a different theory track than what I'm thinking of. I don't know. Let me know. I'd love to read them. Feel free also to just swing on over to the Discord. I'm sure I'm going to be yapping about it over there for a while on what I think is going on, especially when we get closer to these videos releasing, because I don't want to spoil it for them. But once these videos are posted, I'll probably start just like going off on all my little theories that I have. But that's it. What I got for you today. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Hopefully you enjoyed watching all of these theory videos along with me. I know it was 4 days worth of theory videos, but I think it was worth it. In the end, it was worth it. So on Monday, we'll kick it off. We're going to be doing some dance practices. We also have some dance relays. We also will have the dance ×2 and blindfold videos. And that'll kind of wrap up the dance. We'll do some special clips that I have left over that I wanted to watch. And then there's a couple other videos. Now, take a look at the deep dive master list. Link is in the description. Everything should already be planned out. That should be solidified for the rest of the deep dive. So thank you, everybody, joining in, hanging out. You all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll catch you on the next one. Later.